Hey, Robin.
Yes, ma'am. Hey,
Hey,
good morning.
how
No,
are
good
you?
afternoon. I feel like it should be good morning. It has just, how was everybody's weekend?
It was good. Thank you.
How about you, Marinelli?
It was very good. I had the pleasure of hosting an open house for Michelle Slater, and it was a historic house, so that was really cool.
Oh, good. You have a lot of turnout?
We did not in person, but on social media and everything, we sure did. That was really good.
Good. Okay, so you didn't have a big turnout where people actually showed up, but you did have a turnout. Did you do it Facebook Live or something?
We sure did. So I videotaped Michael doing a Facebook Live through the home, and it was hilarious because he's so much taller than me, and so we were walking through that, and I was like following him around, and you could hear me breathing, trying to keep up with him. I was like, slow down. But lots of engagement, lots of interest. So we'll see if that goes anywhere.
Good. Well, that sounds positive. How many people actually attended online?
Michael, do you remember what that number looked like?
Last night it was under 200 views on the video.
But how many attended live though?
Well, I'm not sure how many actually. We had like over 11 emojis. So you would have to think that maybe people were giving remark or,
So maybe about 11.
Yes.
During the actual, feed. So
Right.
it had a 216 views as of right now.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really, really great. And this is where, this is where we really do need to be able to use technology to our advantage and, and really make sure that we're providing as many avenues as possible, because I got to tell you, there are a lot of companies that want to disrupt the traditional way of doing real estate. And, the traditional way of doing real estate is really based so much on relationships. And yet COVID is here to stay, right? Technology it has changed our world drastically, right? And so there are going to be different comfort levels all over the place. So to be able to show houses, virtually, doing via FaceTime or via Zoom and things like that, that's where, and then, and the same thing with doing the virtual open houses. This is where there are people who are in situations where they cannot be around other people. And so I think it's great for you guys that you actually did that online. That's perfect.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And the distance, I think, from our typical geography that we focus on, it was a bit of a drive for sure. So I think this virtual open, showcasing the house and a virtual tour online for those 5-10 minutes,
right,
may have actually got people thinking like, wow, look what's out there. Thanks for the tour. I may need to think about this or share a good word. So
yes,
we'll
absolutely
see.
No, I think that's fantastic. That is really fantastic. Thinking outside the box, and now being able to show that video to potential sellers, when you're going in for listing consultations, to be able to say, let me show you how we've pivoted. Let me show you how we're doing things that others are not doing. And yet one more reason why you should hire us to sell your home, right? It's one more setting yourselves up as the market expert, and also being able to pivot and think outside the box to market someone's property. It's amazing. Yeah, very good. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you, Greta, Sarah, Donnie, Lydia, and I'm not sure who iPhone is. There's somebody that just says iPhone. Can somebody who has an iPhone tell me who you are? Inquiring minds want to know.
Here, it's Robin Mann.
Oh, hey, Robin.
Hey.
Okay, you guys know that I love seeing your beautiful faces. So if you can, I'm going to request this, not require, but I'm going to ask that you show your beautiful face and your handsome faces on the camera if you are in a place to be able to do that. If you're working and or you're out and about or something like that, totally get it. So Greta, thank you for turning. Hey, all right. So let's get right into it. So
I'm
we are going to
driving
be
right-
talking
I'm driving
about we are going to be talking about lead conversion. Okay, lead conversion. So as you've gone through the 36-12-3, as you've gone through that, you will have discovered that it's really the entire 36-12-3 curriculum is all about lead conversion, right? I met with somebody in the office this morning, and when I was talking with her, she said, I need to get help with my with time blocking, and I need to get help with my schedule, and I need to help with get this and that, and I need systems in place. And so as I started asking her about what she is currently doing, my response to her was, my friend, you're already doing all of this stuff. You already have more than a 36 touch program. Just because it doesn't fit in these nice, beautiful boxes on your calendar with 5 children, volunteering all over the place, running a business, husband's in the business, has his own business, and you're doing all of this. Sometimes, guess what? Sometimes our lives do not fit into these neat little boxes as much as we want it to. Yes, we do say that you should time block. And what I told her is, I asked her, when do you make phone calls? When do you lead generate? And she said, I lead generate when I'm in the car. And I said, so did I. I used to lead generate because guess what? That was the only time that I wasn't doing something else and I could actually talk to somebody on the phone. And here's what I had to do. As soon as I got to the place that I needed to, by the end of the day, I did need to write out my notes of what we talked about, right? Because otherwise, how can I follow up with that person if they said, hey, I am interested in selling? So what I want to say is, we are going to cover 6 topics today. And you know what? They won't always fit in these neat little boxes because I have one word for you: life. Life just happens, right? So do what you can when you can and give yourself a little breathing space and give yourself room to make mistakes. So the 6 topics that we are going to cover today are: what is a lead? And we're going to define that lead. We're going to get to know your leads and how do you classify them. We're going to talk about the 4 C's of working with a lead. I'll tell you what those are. And we're going to talk about easy internet conversions. When you get an internet inquiry, what's the easiest way to convert around that? And then I'm going to give you number 5 is tips for the appointment, and number 6 we're going to pre-qualify for the consultation. Okay, 6 points we're covering today. Now, we may not get through all 6, or we may bounce around just a little bit, depending on what you need to make sure. My goal is to get finished by 3 o'clock today, not taking it to 3:30. Let's see if we can't accomplish what we need to in an hour and a half. How does that sound to you? Yeah,
Good.
I like it too. Yeah. And besides, I have an appointment at 3 o'clock. So let's just get that all taken care of right now. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and if you did you receive what was sent to you from Melody earlier with your workbook? Does everybody have that?
I don't think I have this, Robin. I haven't been been here for the earlier ones, so.
Okay, so please check your email. It should have that, and here's what I'm gonna do. We'll do this in the chat. Does everybody have it or no?
I have it. It's a PDF file that Lucy sent a couple hours ago.
Yes.
Yeah, it came in about.
Yeah,
maybe-
hold on one second. Yeah, hold on.
Oh, you know what? I do have it. I apologize.
No problem. That you get so
Oh,
many emails from us, I can understand how it could get lost. So,
no, I
you
do
know,
have
that's
it.
always sort of a challenge because we have so many emails going out because we have so many different things happening in different experiential levels and specializations and stuff like that. So, okay, let's get into it. What is a lead? Can somebody tell me what a lead is?
Potential
Oh,
opportunity.
come on. Somebody knows what a lead is?
Somebody who is thinking about buying or selling, but maybe you haven't made it into a contact yet.
Okay, great. That's and a lead very simply is this. It could be a contact, right? Could be a contact. It is a person who's ready and willing and they're ready to go now, right? That's a lead. So we could say a lead, you know, we have a lead that's going to be buying in 2 years, right? That's not really a lead, you know, because what we do is we think of leads in the way that we're putting them into a pipeline, right? We're putting that person into a pipeline. They're ready to buy. Now they may, you know, they may need to work on their credit or they may need to sell their house or things like that. They're still a lead if you are actively working with them or they're in your pipeline. But if they're 2 years out, that's a lead you're going to nurture. Okay, so we're going to talk about converting that person, where you're going to take that lead and you're going to convert that lead into a client. Okay, so what is lead conversion? Quite simply, as Gary says, it's somebody who's ready and willing to do business now. Okay, so somebody described to me a couple of different leads that you've gotten recently. Where did you get them from, and why would you qualify them as a lead?
I'll go. I got a text on a weekend from a friend in the community about someone who's in New York looking to come down here as a new way of calling home due to employment reasons. So sent across text this morning, and I'll probably do a follow-up phone call here after 5 o'clock just to, see, to do an introduction.
Very good. That's a great lead, right? Anybody else? Thank you for sharing that, David. Anybody else? Okay. Take yourselves off mute and tell me how many leads you have right now.
I have 7.
Okay, great. Nellie has 7. Who's next?
I may have 1.
Okay, great. Anu, thank you. Anybody else? Sarah Bullard, you've got 1. We talked about it.
Hello, Robin. I'm working with a buyer, but since he already signed a contract with me, I guess he's no longer a lead.
Nope, you're exactly right there because that person is now, they are now a client. You're exactly right. Anybody else?
Mine are futuristic, but I'd say I'm more nurturing them right now because they're about 5 or 6 months out.
Okay, all right, but I would qualify that as a lead. Where I wouldn't qualify somebody as a lead is if they're so far out that I have no, it's quite possible that they could just fall off the radar, right? They may change their mind or something like that. Who knows? They might even get their license to do real estate before they even buy, right? All kinds of things can happen. Okay, so most of you are working with leads. That's awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how do we very quickly assess how a person is, how they're, how do we really know how to interact with that lead and what is a really great shortcut. Does anybody have an assessment tool, specifically a personality assessment tool, that you think might be really beneficial in knowing how to work with a particular lead? No? How many of you have done the DISC profile?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so in the chat window, I'm going to stop sharing a minute because I want to see this. So I want to see the chat window. In the chat window, you guys, I need you to tell me where you are on the DISC. Just put it
I
in,
can't
put it in the
remember,
chat window
Robin.
who you are.
Where would I find that? I know I've done it, but I can't remember. I don't believe I.
Okay, so back in the beginning when you came on, Lucy would have sent a welcome email to you, and in that email there would have been a personality assessment tool that you could use. So and this would have been either DISC, DISC profile. So so right now we have IISIS. All right, who else? Anybody else know theirs? All right, here we go. Can anybody explain to me what the DISC profile is? What each letter stands for? Anybody want to give it a shot?
I'll give it a
All right, I'm going to go for it. Here we go. You ready?
go for it.
D stands for dominant. D stands for that person who's more the driver, more the director. They like to be in charge, and they're the ones who want to say, "Look at my accomplishments. Look at what I've done." Right? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're narcissistic, although there are a lot of narcissists out there that are high Ds. However, high Ds are really, these are the people that you see as chairman of the board. These are people that you typically would see as a CEO. These are people that you would typically see as a team leader or a mega agent. Not always, but most often, these are the people who are domineering. They like to direct. They're basically control freaks. All right. Anybody have any idea what I am?
All right.
Okay.
Are you an S?
No, I am a high D. I am a very high D.
D for darling.
Thank you so much, Michael. I love it. I love it. D for darling. I am a very darling control freak. That's all. I'm just a demure director, driver, control freak, right? All right. How about an I? What does anybody know what I stands for?
Influencer.
I stands for integration. So this is your I is, hey, look at me, right? Your I is that one who likes to integrate everybody. They're the influencer. They're the ones who just want to make sure everybody's happy at the party. They're the interactive ones. They're the ones who like to talk and really, they're the ones that when they come into a party, they're actually looking at maybe the happiest people to hang with. They're the ones who you love to interact with people. You're relationship based, right? Everything is about the relationship and everything is about making sure that those people are included. You don't like it for anybody to feel left out. Right. So you're going to actually go and you're going to try to pull them in. You are an I. Now an S stands for, you can think of S more as a security stabilizer. S likes stability. Okay. So those S's, they don't really like to they're not too much into confrontation unless it means that you're going to be stable. Right. So that S is really where the S is really more of the steady Eddie. We just want things to be steady and just kind of let's not rock the boat. And if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? So your S's are a little bit more, they seek security and stability. So it's a big deal for an S to take a risk. So they're going to calculate that risk, and they want to make sure that if they're going to take that risk, that it's very clear what the results of that risk are going to be and how is the best way for me to get there. So, all right. So now the C out of the DISC profile is cautious. These are the careful ones. These are the cautious ones. These are the ones that want to dot every I and cross every T, and they will go through that contract, line by line. These are the ones that at the closing, you might actually want to call the closing attorney the day before and say, by the way, I have somebody that is probably going to want to read every single line in that closing. Would you be okay if he comes in at 10, even though we're closing at 1? And can you just let him read everything he's going to sign? Okay, those are your C's. They want to double check that everything is exactly the way it should be because they are very cautious. Now, when you're talking with clients, do you see how maybe being able to peg them or identify somewhat without giving them the personality assessment to fill out, do you think that it might be helpful if you know what sort of profile out of the DISC that you're working with?
Mm-hmm.
Why would that be
Yeah.
helpful to you?
You can kind of calibrate your discussions and interactions with the person accordingly.
Exactly. You can also mirror their personality. So you guys know me by now. I tend to talk a little fast, right? And I tend to move fast. Guess what? I drive fast, I talk fast, I walk fast. And so for me, when I know that I have an SC, now if I have a high I, man, we can just, we can bounce like this, right? But after a while, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I need to drive. I'm done. Let's go. So for me, as a high D, and I am a high D with a little bit lower of an I, for me, I have to slow it down when I'm working with an SC. Do you know that most engineers are high SCs? Most accountants are high Cs. Most administrative people are high S's. A lot of teachers are high I's, but they also like that S for that stability. That's why they chose it. They like to interact, but they liked the stability of being a teacher of that job, right? So there are definitely advantages to understanding that profile so that number one, yes, you can calibrate, but number two, you can mirror them. So if I'm talking with someone who's just a little bit low key, and they want to think about things and they really want to talk about these numbers, then you know what? I literally will slow it down and I will mirror their personality. Right? I'll mirror that and then I'll say, I understand. I get that. Now I wonder if we were to look at it this way, what would you think about this? And so my idea, because if I just go in with an SC and I just try to ramrod that price in and this is what we're going to do and sign here, are you kidding? I'd be booted out faster than I could say boo. Okay, so it's knowing how that is. There are some people who go as far as writing on the outside of their folders, of their client folders, what that personality profile is. Because it helps. It helps you to know, okay, now if you've got a high D, guess what? And you're a high D, you just need to learn how to shut up and let them drive. Right? Now, do we want them to drive roughshod over us? No, it doesn't. It does not mean that. It means you stick firm to your logic and the facts, right? But you do need to let them drive a little bit. And they love, high Ds like to hear, that's a good point. You don't want to tell a high D you're right. Please write this one down. You don't want to tell a high D that you're right. You want to say to a high D, that's a good point. So you want to focus that language on the good point that was made. That was a good point. That could be a fair assessment. I can see that that would be that's the right thing to do, right? Because the moment you tell them you're right, then automatically their authority is here and yours is here, and you don't want that. So when you're working with a high D, you need to be able to focus on, yes, you want to reaffirm that, yes, you agree with what he's saying or she is saying, but keep it focused on what the actual facts are. Don't give away your power. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're working with a high I, then really the challenge is going to be working with a high I is keeping it focused. And that's where you're going to say, this is what we're going to cover today. And this is what our next steps are. So you need to be able to keep it succinct, but allow them time to interact and feel really great about you, right? And then you need to be able to let that, then set the next steps, because you've got to control that conversation, because the high I's will just take it, right? Your SCs, your challenge for your SC is letting those facts just sit there and then allowing the emotion to come alongside. Remember, logic makes us think, but emotions make us act. Sometimes your SCs, especially buyers, sometimes your SCs will be so afraid to make a decision. And this is where you have to allow that emotion, yes, present those facts, but allow that emotion to come alongside. How do SCs, what would be a good way to get an SC to act emotionally in a positive forward movement? Any idea?
You could ask them, so if we were to buy this house, what do you think it will look like? I mean, how will this impact your life? I mean, like, ask them to put themselves in that position.
That's great. That's great. And guess what? The SCs, they really want to make sure that they're making the right decision, and there is power in numbers. And so when you can tell a story about someone very similar to them made a choice that got them the beautiful dream house that they wanted, and even though they were afraid, that you were able to you were able to make that happen, and you tell a story that gets their buy-in, because the SC is going to look around the room and decide whether or not they want to raise their hand to agree with what's being said. So if you can create a story, you can create stories around that to be able to say to them, I had somebody, I just had someone that they were really afraid to pull the trigger because, oh my gosh, this was the first house that they had seen. And isn't it weird that I'm going to buy the first house that I see? I don't know. This might not be a good decision. But guess what? It checks off every single box for them. Is it a good decision? It's just pure coincidence that it happens to be the first one. And this is where a story, Greta, I get that. We'll circle back around. Thank you for your feedback. Greta's got to go. She has an appointment at 2. But this is where telling a story around that reassures them that they are not alone and that it is safe to make that decision. And you got to just allow them to have some room to get around that. But stories can really help those SCs. It's wasted on a D. Stories are almost wasted on a D, right? I's like it just because it's entertainment. SCs really, really need those stories to help them. Got it? Okay,
Yes.
good. Any thoughts or ahas around that?
It sounds like that if you're going to do a listing presentation or meeting up with someone for a consultation, that it might help the S's and the C's with, we've been there, we understand. We can walk you through right now a process that's been tried and true to perfection. We'll tell you exactly your blueprint, what it's going to take for y'all to get there. Maybe that'll put some safety and confidence in the relationship right out the gate. At least I hope it would.
That's where you're exactly right, Michael. That's where the plan is everything. Being able to present the plan. Now the high Ds will go, they'll look at that and they'll go, that's awesome. Love it. What's next? Right? And the high I's will be like, oh, that's so great. You came up with this. I really like number 3. Tell me more about number 3. Number 3 sounds really awesome. I'd really like to know a little bit more about, what are you going to do on Facebook? Oh, I love that. Tell me more about that. Right? Of course, I'm going to the extreme and exaggerating a little bit, but they like the plan too. But gosh, those SCs, they love seeing that plan. Great point, Michael.
I think it's interesting if you'll have a couple that are polar opposites on that. And I always got a kick out of that, watching HGTV when they would try to figure out which of the two people in that relationship are really the decision makers. And so that's something I like to do straight off the bat when I'm talking to them on the phone, just to get a feel of who I'm really pitching to when I come over.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's really good. And that's where this is really important, when you can ask questions, and we're going to get to this in a few minutes, when we can ask questions about pre-qualifying that person before we actually meet them. So, and what I mean by pre-qualifying that person is by asking them questions will determine, hey, what do I need to bring to that listing presentation? What do I need to bring with me to make sure that I have available to that buyer when I maybe have only met them because they came through the internet, or they were a referral from somebody else, or I met them at an open house and spoke to maybe 3 minutes at max. And now I'm, so this is where that pre-qualifying over the phone ahead of time will really help you, so that when you, when you start presenting certain things, you're going to be, and the more you do this, you guys, the better you will get at identifying the DISC profile. Now, is it full and complete? Nah, it's not. But you know what? It's a really great tool to very quickly tune in on that person's personality, right? So let's talk about it with a buyer, because we talked about it with a listing. How do we talk about it with a buyer? Yes, you could tell stories about how, it is okay to pull the trigger on this one. I've said this so many times in the past, when somebody would say, is it really weird that I want to buy the first house that I've seen, but oh my gosh, it's perfect, but I don't know if I should pull the trigger because it's the first house that I've seen. I don't know. And then I would always say, how many houses have you seen on the internet? Oh, probably hundreds. And how many virtual tours have you watched? Probably at least 30 or 40. So 20 years ago, you couldn't watch a virtual tour on your computer. 20 years ago, you were lucky to get 5 photos in the MLS, right? So you've seen a whole lot more. And even 15 years ago, you didn't have Google Maps where you could actually put the little Google guy there and see what it looks like. So is it weird that you're buying the first house? No, because you've already driven by, you already know that area, you've already Google manned it, right? You know what schools there are. You've already seen all these other houses. Let me tell you about somebody else that did the same thing, right? Okay, let me share my screen again. All right, so here we are. We are at the DISC profile. Here you go: dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. Dominance, driver, director. Man, they want to do the influence, integrator. They're the ones who love to, to influence other people and integrate into the scene. Steadiness, there are your S's: steadiness, stability. Okay, little risk aversion. And C for compliance, every I better be dotted and every T crossed. I'm telling you right now, if you have one of those, make sure the attorney knows it. Otherwise, you will be at the closing table maybe 4 hours. Don't do it. Trust me, I've been there. Just give a heads up and just arrange it. Just arrange it, and the client will love you. You'll be like, you know what? I know you're not going to want it to hold everybody up, but I know it's really important to you that you read through those documents. I've scheduled it. I'm scheduling a time with the attorney ahead of time so that you can go in and really take your time with those and write down any questions that you might have, just so that you're comfortable. How does that sound? Oh, that would be great, because I want to make sure that I'm signing the right thing. You got it. I'm going to make sure that attorney knows that. Right? And they'll love you for that. And so will the listing agent or the buyer's agent on the other side, and everybody else sitting at that table will love you that you were able to do that for them. Make sense? All right.
Yes.
We're going to talk about getting to know your leads, getting to know, you've got to build rapport with them. Now, I know that you've heard me say before that one of the most effective ways for a buyer to nurture a buyer is give them what they want. What do buyers want? Not a trick question, you guys. What do buyers want?
Rapport. Connecting.
What else do they want?
CMAs? Yeah.
What are they buying?
They want a trustworthy guide, someone that can lead
Value.
them through the process.
Value.
All those are great. What does a buyer want? What are they buying?
At the end of the day, a property.
Ding, 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 ding. They want to see houses. They want to see inventory. At the end of the day, most, especially first-time home buyers, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know that they should care about your value. They don't know that they should care about your experience. They don't know that they should care that you have certain systems in place to make sure they don't lose their earnest money because you didn't put it on the calendar of when their due diligence period expires. Right? They don't know all of those things. Those first-time buyers don't know. And quite honestly, second, third-time buyers, they don't know a whole lot either. So guess what a buyer wants? A buyer wants to see houses. And they want to feel like you, as the buyer's agent, that you know exactly what they're looking for. And they are going to trust that you're going to negotiate the best deal for them. But at the end of the day, you guys, they want to see houses. And they want to know that you've got them and that you know what they want. And you're not going to waste their time by showing them something they don't want. You're going to fill in the value. You're going to fill in that rapport, and you're going to let them know the systems and plans and everything that you have in place for them. You're going to let them know. But really, it's the same thing when a buyer walks into an open house. You guys, they are not there to talk to you. They could care less about you. They're there to see the house. So they don't want to sign in because they don't want you bothering them. That's how they see it. Right? And so what's the best thing you could do for somebody coming into an open house, or the best thing you could do for a buyer? You get them on a search portal ASAP. You get them in that FMLS search portal and you start showing them houses. And when you see something pop up on Georgia Legacy Group Facebook page that says, I've got something coming soon over off of, over in Brookfield Country Club, it's going to be amazing. Just want to let you guys know it'll hit the market in about 3 weeks. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to shoot a text to that open house lead, or that lead that you just got from the internet. You're going to say, hey, we have that it might fit your criteria. We have something coming up over in Brookfield Country Club. I don't know the address just yet, but I'm going to be on it as soon as it hits the market. We're going to see it. And I'm going to try to preview it before it even hits the market to make sure that you like it. Because you know what? That's what the buyer wants. Now, a seller is absolutely interested in your experience. The seller is more interested in you and your systems and your models and who people say you are than a buyer's agent ever. Can you see the difference?
Mhm.
Right? So when you're working with those open house leads And when they come in that door, instead of saying, hey, would you sign in because the seller really wants to know who's here? That's a bald-faced lie. And you're not going to say that ever. You're going to say, hey, you didn't come to talk to me. But tell me, how did you get to me? Oh, that's awesome. You saw me on Zillow and you saw all the signs. That's awesome. Look, we got 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths up, and we've got a killer basement, and it's awesome. You didn't come to talk to me, but I have one favor to ask of you. And they go, yeah, sure. And you say, when you get done, would you just tell me what you thought of the house? That'd be really awesome. So 4 bedrooms up, don't forget to miss the backyard. Got a killer outdoor kitchen in there. I'll see you when you're done. And you repeat that, the same thing over and over and over again, right? And then when when they come back in, now you're going to ask them what their opinion is. What did you think of this? What did you think of that? How'd you like that backyard? Oh yeah, it is a little bit sloped. So, and then you're just going to restate all of that back to them. And guess what you just did? You showed them you were listening to them, and you just built rapport in about 5 minutes. And then you're going to say, I've got some off-market properties that, I'm in a group of about 1,200 people. And we always, if we've got something coming up, we try to put it out there ahead of time. Would it be helpful? Would you be offended if I sent those to you? No, not at all. Guess what? You just got their email, their phone number, and their names. And you never had to ask them for it because you came from contribution. Communicate in a way that is meaningful to the person with whom you're talking. They want to see houses, right? If it's a seller, they want to know the stats. Tell me what's happening. Hey, Mr. Seller, would it be helpful? Hey, as you're circle prospecting around that listing and you say, hey, would you be offended if I kept you in the loop and kept you posted on what's happening with that listing? You wouldn't be offended at all. That's great. I'd love to be able to just let you know as we go along how it's going. And then you're going to do what you say you're going to do, right? Because doesn't a potential seller want to know what's happening in his neighborhood? Does that make sense to you guys? Cool beans. Okay, let's talk about tips for getting an appointment. All right, this is where sometimes we think we need to be more diplomatic than we should be. Sometimes we think we don't want to offend them. We don't want to seem pushy. We don't want them to feel like, oh my gosh, this person he's never going to stop calling me. She's never going to stop talking, right? So tips for getting an appointment. Guess what the number 1 tip is? It's right there on your screen. Ask for the appointment. Right? Ask for the appointment because if you're talking to them on the phone and letting them know what that house just listed for, they're going to be like, oh, that's awesome. And if you don't let them know that you're an expert in the market by letting them know what the status of the inventory is in that neighborhood, as well as all of Metro Atlanta, that is less than 4 weeks, right? If they don't know all of that and you can't establish yourself as a market expert, it doesn't matter if you ask for the appointment. So asking for the appointment, in my opinion, should be like number 6 out of that list. But maybe it's number 1 because you need to have it at top of mind that you are going to ask for the appointment. All right. But be confident in your ability. You fake it till you make it. As long as you have your stats and you have your stuff to back up what you're saying, it's okay. Find your inner dude, find your inner Tony Robbins, find whoever that is that you need to be until you become that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? Find that, kick butt person that you're like, man, I just need to be more bold like that person. And just kind of say, all right, if I were that person, how would I do this? And then just do that. Right? Have a list of questions and that you're going to ask them, and you're going to listen. You're also going to come from contribution. Begin with the end in mind. What is the end in mind? What's the end? What's the result of this conversation?
To get the listing.
The result of the conversation is getting the appointment. Nothing shy of getting the appointment, right? Seek agreement, respond quickly, and then communicate in person. All right, let's talk about this. I want to talk about any questions on that, you guys? Pretty straightforward, right? How many of you are getting internet leads?
Yeah, from
Looking in the chat. Okay, anybody getting internet leads?
yeah, when we do Facebook ads, we get them that way.
Say that again, Marinelli.
When we buy a Facebook ad, we usually get them that way.
So an internet lead is from a Facebook lead. Absolutely. It's from, you're doing a Facebook ad. And so it is, therefore it is an internet lead, right? It's coming from the internet. So when we get that internet lead, we're going to talk about 5 ways. Easy. Ready? All right. Okay. Can everybody see this? Do I need to make it bigger?
Yes.
Or bring it closer?
I think it's fine.
All right, good. Successful internet lead conversion. Write this down. Number 1, make a short-term and a long-term plan. What do I mean by that? What is a plan in our world? Could it be a smart plan? I mean, a plan is anything that a plan is anything that we're gonna implement to make something happen, right? If you want to go to Disney World and you come up with a plan, it's not for you to come up with a plan and never go, right? You're going to come up with a plan. So a smart plan and or short and long term. So a short plan is this. You get that internet lead through Facebook. Marinelli and Michael, what are you doing with that lead when it comes in?
I mean, we can't, immediate contact as quickly as possible, call them, text them, what have you, answer their question. It's usually like a house that we're promoting per se. So we just thank them for their interest and ask how we can help them.
Okay. And then what?
Ask them if they want to see the house.
And then what?
I know what do we do next, Michael? If they don't want to see that house or they're no longer interested, we just ask them if there's other homes we can show them.
Okay. And then what?
We just keep trying.
How?
Until we get that appointment.
Okay. And so when you say keep trying, what other avenues are you doing to reach out to them?
It depends on what contact they gave us and what we're able to get from them. So it could be either a text, a phone call, email, sending them properties on email, that type of stuff.
Great. So when you thank you for that, Marinelli. Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to go deeper on that with you. So a short-term and a long-term plan. A short-term is this, you guys, exactly what she just said. If it's an internet lead, you're calling them immediately, unless it's like 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, you're not doing that, right? But when it is reasonably possible, you're going to call them back. You know what? An internet lead, if it comes in on your phone between 8 and 8 p.m., 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., call them right then. Because if you wait even 3 to 5 minutes, you know what, you guys, these people on the internet, they're clicking and they're clicking. And they're clicking, and they may have clicked 5 or 6 different landing pages or websites before you even get a chance to call them. So guess what? You might be 1 out of 5, 10, 12 people that are going to call them back. So you need to call them right away. If it's between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., call them back right away. And if you can't, then send them a text and say, thank you for your inquiry on 123 Main Street. I am in a meeting. May I give you a call back in an hour? Okay, make sure that you are staying in contact with them. Early bird gets the worm for internet leads. All of my leads for the first 7 years in my business were all internet leads. And I was the #1 buyer's agent. Early bird gets the worm. You had to call them back immediately. Because if you didn't, back then it was, hey, you really need to call within 10 minutes. Now it's, you got to call within 3. Okay, that's why the internet conversion ratio is so bad. 100 leads to 1. You have to talk to 100 people before you get an internet lead to close? Dang. Whew. Well, that's because the competition is so fierce. So you have to respond quickly. So that's the short-term plan. So what are you going to do? So when it comes to, I got to sit down. It's killing my neck like this. All right.
Sit down, darling.
Okay. Now. Whew, okay. So you guys, 3 minutes to respond to an internet lead. Now, what happens, let's just say that you do meet with them or you talk to them and they're like, no, I'm good. I'm just looking on Zillow and everything. And then you do the off-market script, right? Now, can I point you to an off-market script? No, but I'm going to tell it to you right now. Would you be offended? I'm going to say it again. Would you be offended if I sent some off-market properties? Would you be offended if I sent off-market properties that would fit your criteria? Now, we are living in a very politically correct world where nobody wants to offend anybody else. That's why this is the best script you could say, because nobody wants to offend you. So ask, would you be offended if I send some off-market properties to you? And everybody is going to say, no, I wouldn't be offended. That would be great. Why would it be great? Because by golly, they've got all of these, every time they see something that comes across their portal and they star it and they heart it. And it's like, oh, I love that one. 3 hours later, it's gone. Right? So would you be offended? So when you're talking to that internet lead, you want to give them something of value that not too many people can say. And so when you can say, I am in a group of almost 1,200 agents that we share when we're working with a seller and that it's getting ready to go to market, those are off-market properties. How else can you find off-market properties? Anybody have any idea?
Expired listings.
Yeah.
What did you say, Eric?
Expired listings. I've been
Expired
told
listings.
I've never done it.
You've been in some classes. Expired listings, that's exactly right. Guys, go back a year in FMLS and do it by neighborhood if you want to. If you have that, on those, depending on Michael and Marinelli, depending on where that house is, if you were to go back into the FMLS and search that school district and, or if it's in a neighborhood, being that it's historic, it makes me think maybe it wasn't in a neighborhood.
It was in a historic district, Robin. Think about mid 1800s. So it doesn't look like, very defined like a subdivision, but it was a district per se, right down from the square.
So what you can do, and thank you for that, Michael, because what you guys can do is this: to find expired listings for someone, and these are off-market properties. You can go back a year or 2 years, because what was a year ago? It was when COVID came out, and there were some buyers that literally or sellers that took their house off the market then because they were scared. And so they took their house off the market and they didn't relist it. Well, now things are a little bit more in control. What if you were to call them and say, hey, I have some buyers for that we've got buyers that didn't get in on a deal because there were multiple offers. Have you thought about what it would be like to put your house on the market today? Right? So that's one way that you can find expired listings. Okay, so let's talk. So you're going to put a short-term plan. You're going to email them, you're going to text them, you're going to send them a few other listings that may fit that criteria, and a long-term plan. Hey, maybe they're not responding. Go ahead and put them on a 19 to connect smart plan in command. 19 to connect. Guess what? When you're in command and you're in your dashboard, you can search by smart plans and put in 19 to cement, and a whole bunch of them will pull up. You just have to choose one. and then assign it to all of those other people. Got it? And if you need help on that, Leanza will help you, as well as Sam. Lucy can help you. Susan Corley can help you. Got it? Okay. Next, be consistent. Don't change it up immediately. Don't change this plan. Work the plan until the plan doesn't work. Work that plan until the plan doesn't work. Well, how do you know it doesn't work unless you're doing it for 3 or 4 months? Right? Work the plan until the plan doesn't work. And then follow the progress. Keep track of the open rates. If people are not opening your stuff, guess what? Something needs to be changed. But if they are opening your stuff, but they're not responding, how do you need to tweak that to make sure they're responding? How do you know if somebody has opened your emails? You need to use a program.
Yeah, I was gonna say in command. Yeah.
You know, in command, you know if somebody's opened your email or not, right? It's just like MailChimp, you know if somebody's opened it, right? So if no one is opening that, they're getting that monthly newsletter, but only about 20% are opening it, guess what? Your content needs to change, but you won't know that unless you're following the progress of that plan. The other thing is review the plan to make future changes, just like what we're talking about. The other thing is monitor your conversion ratio, monitor the open ratios. Guys, I have to say, when working with a buyer, the easiest thing that you can do is set them up on a search portal. And then if you meet somebody at an open house and they would not be offended if you sent off-market properties, and make sure you have coming soon properties. You're in there looking at coming soon properties. And guess what, you guys? If you don't have any off-market properties, it's okay. Send them a few things, maybe right outside of their search parameters, and then you're going to give them a call after a couple of days after sending them and say, I've been sending you some listings, and gosh, I really just want to make sure that I'm hitting the nail on the head. How do I need to tweak that search for you? Oh, well, I was thinking maybe I don't have to have a basement. Well, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and include everything with, without basements. I think that's going to bring in a few more, right? Or you know what? I'm not seeing anything. Go ahead and bump the price. Just bump it by, make it from $350 to $375. Let's see what comes up then. Oh, I'm happy to do that for you. Right? And then you're going to tweak it. And then 2 days later, you're going to call them and you're going to say, how'd that, I worked out that tweak. Have you had a chance to look at it? Now, do you know if they've looked at it? Yes, because FMLS tells you they've looked at it. But if you're not in there looking, you won't know. Now, who knows how to do a search portal in FMLS? I should say this, who doesn't know how to do one? Robin, anybody else? Ray, Donnie, Lydia, Raven, do you all know how to, Sarah, do you all know how to do a search portal in FMLS?
I know how to do that, but I don't know how to connect command so that I can pull GAMLS and FMLS through command to send them stuff on SmartPlan, like a saved search for an area.
I'm going to tell you that, yes, that's great, but I'm going to tell you that the easiest way for you to do that is not to go through command with that. Go directly through FMLS. Go directly, do smart plans with them in command for sure, but go directly through FMLS so that you can set them up and have that search emailed to them through what is called the client portal. If you haven't learned how to do that, take that FMLS class to do that, you guys, because that is one of the most effective tools, because they're getting fed listings. What do buyers want? They want listings. What do sellers want? They want to know what's happening in their neighborhood, right? So we want to be able to provide that. So Donnie, do go on to FMLS in the newsletter. In the monthly calendar, On the sides, over here on the sides, you guys, are FMLS classes. I only had Melody list 4 of them. And look, it is Matrix Portal, providing service to clients using the client portal. And you'll get 3 CE credits. So definitely do that. Take your FMLS classes, because FMLS is your best tool. And dare I say, even over command, FMLS is your greatest tool to keep buyers and sellers informed. It's the source, right? And then you can call them and say, hey, do I need to tweak that? Or, hey, did you see that for listings that you're, sellers that you're nurturing, hey, did you see that something came out, became available over in your section of Windward? Did you happen to see that? Now I'm going to go ahead and preview that this week. Would you like for me to give you my thoughts after I preview it? Oh my gosh, the seller's like, I got this agent working for me and we haven't even signed anything. All right. Yeah. Because hey, isn't it good to preview properties? Yeah. Okay. All right. I did not catch the question regarding FMLS. Ray, I asked if anybody did not know how to set up a client portal through FMLS. And if you don't know how to do that, jump into FMLS and take that class, Connecting the Client Portal. Got it? Okay. The last one is give permission. Guys, I just got to say this. Some of you who are so new, you don't want to make mistakes. And I get it. I do not like making mistakes. I don't. But you know what? I've made so many mistakes. And I've learned from my mistakes. Marinelli is waving. I've learned, I know that you guys have probably heard the story that my first buyer for a house, my first buyer was for land. My second buyer was for a house. And you guys, I ended up making like $1,500 out of a $250,000 sale, which would have been $7,500, but I had to split it with the brokerage. And then I didn't ask for repairs in a timely manner. So guess who paid for the repairs because I didn't have any training? Moi. So I think I made $1,500 off of that transaction, but I fixed every single thing on that inspection report because it was the right thing to do and it was the best lesson I ever learned. So you're going to make mistakes. Give yourself some room to make mistakes. The mistakes that you don't, when you make those mistakes that are pretty big to a client, just make it right and learn from it. But you're going to make mistakes. So give yourself some room, give yourself permission to make mistakes. And the last thing I want to tell you about internet lead conversion is take action. You can, it doesn't matter if you paid, you guys, we used to, on the team that I used to own at a different brokerage, you guys, we used to pay like $300 a lead way back in the beginning. So lead conversion was everything. Today, you can pay less than $2 for a lead off of a Facebook ad. But it doesn't matter if you are not following up with them, then you just go out and throw your money out in the middle of the street. If you do not have a follow-up plan, text, email, and don't set it and forget it, pick up the phone and call these people. Make it relational. Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's talk about the 4 C's. Let's talk about, wrong one. Let's open this one. I have way too many things open. Yep, got it. Oh, it must be open behind here. I'm sorry, you guys, just a second. For some reason, that's not showing up. That's why it's right there. I knew it was because it was in the back there. Okay, the 4 C's of internet conversion. Make offer for immediate response. Everything I've been telling you, make an offer for an immediate response. When you are the 4 C's, capture the interested people. Capture them. When you meet somebody at an internet lead, at an open house, capture that lead by cultivating a relationship right then and there. Would you be offended if I sent off market properties? If it's a seller, would you be offended if I kept you, in the loop about what happens to this one? Would you be offended if I sent some of the vendors that helped make this house look so amazing? Right? Come up with value that you can then give to them, because nobody just wants to be spammed. But if you can come up with some sort of contributing value to them, they will love it. Okay, so if it's a buyer off market properties, if it's a buyer, maybe they would like to know, maybe they'd like to know how to get a 0-cost loan, right? Connect with them on a personal level. Connect with them on a personal level. Cultivate the relationship over time. Close for the appointment. Ask for the appointment. If you're nurturing a seller, what about saying, you know what, before you even pick up a paintbrush, because you think it might be a good thing to paint that wall before you list, would you just allow me to come over and save some money for you? Because maybe you don't need to pick up the paintbrush. And I have buyers who don't care. They want to pick up their own paintbrush. So would you, why not just allow me to come over, and I'll take maybe 30 minutes of your time, and let's make sure that you're going to get the best value for your house, right? Okay. Make offer for immediate response, get the best buy list, instant notification of homes for sale. That's that client portal. Find out what your home is worth. If somebody really wants to know how much their home is worth, then why not provide that to them? See more about a property, virtual tours, price, automated guidance, foreclosures, distress sales, etc. You guys, we got less than 0.05% of distressed properties, so this doesn't really apply. All right, so capture with filters. Now, when you're doing an internet lead, are you having them register to get more information, Marinelli?
I'm sorry, registering them?
So whenever you get that lead through Facebook, how is that lead coming in? Are they calling you, or do they have to fill out a form in order to get more information?
Right, they fill out a form to our landing page and then they come into command.
Okay, great. Yeah. This is where what you are doing, you must really measure to make sure that if your skinny bait means no registration required, fat bait is registration required, right? Now, this is where if you're going to get somebody to give you information, you guys better be sure you're giving something of value. Otherwise, that information, the majority of it will be false. Okay. All right, so registration forms, keep it minimal, name and email, If you can get a phone number, that's great, but name and email, right? Because people are more likely to do that. Notification of capture. If it's coming into command, you're capturing it, right? Describe your current capture system. What offers do you make? So when somebody comes in, are you calling them? And that is, hey, here is your best one, Marinelli, for the ones that you guys are doing. Would you be offended if I sent some off-market properties to you? Because I bet you've seen everything that's on Zillow or Realtor.com, right? Don't ever ask, is your agent sending you listings? Don't say that. Would you be offended if I send that to you? Because if you can show them that you have greater value than their current agent that they don't have a buyer brokerage agreement with, then all's fair in love and war. Now, if they do have a buyer brokerage agreement, are you doing anything wrong by asking them if you can send them off market properties? No, you're not. But if they say, well, you know what, I do have an agent, And you say, oh, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. If you'd like to give me that agent's phone number, I'm happy to send them the off-market properties if it helps you, right? And this is where you're going to learn whether that person really has an agent or if they just kind of didn't want you to sell them. Okay. So should you care if they have another agent? Absolutely. You do not want to violate a buyer brokerage agreement, but most often they don't have a BBA in place. Most often they don't. Not if they're out looking at open houses, not yet. Okay. All right. Contact rules: call back within 3 to 7 minutes. If busy, call again within 5 to 10 minutes. Try 3 times. Be friendly and relaxed. Always answer questions with questions. Why? Keeps you in the driver's seat. Don't ever let them feel like they've gotten all the information and they don't need you anymore. And then close for the appointment. Okay? All right. Outcome: you reach the person. Here we go. We're going to introduce yourself. Thank them for visiting your website, or thank them for leaving their information so that you can get in touch with them. Here are some of the questions you can ask them. Are you finding homes on the internet? How long have you been looking? Why are you moving? What are you looking for in a home? Now, you guys, when you're getting a lead from a Facebook ad or you're getting a lead at an open house, do you know one of my the secret sauce for open houses? You know what it is? Anybody want to hear it, or have you heard it already?
I want to hear
I
it.
want to hear it.
When they are finished looking at the house, because remember, they've come in and you haven't asked them to sign in. And you say very casually, and you be you, and you say, you know what, you didn't come here to talk to me after you got their name and you introduced yourself and you asked them how long they've been looking, and, you know, or where did they find you? You know, how did they get to you? And they go, oh yeah, I saw it on Zillow. And I also saw your signs and it helped me get here. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad those signs are working. It's a pain in the butt to put them in and put them down, but I'm so glad they're working. Thank you so much for letting me know that. But look, you didn't come to talk to me. Just go ahead and take a look at the house. It's 525, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. You give them like 3 sentences. Go take a look at the house. I have one favor to ask of you. And they go, yes. And you go, when you get back, would you just give me some feedback about the house? You know, what you liked about it, what you know, things like that. Would you be willing to give me some feedback? Oh yeah, sure. Great. Thanks so much. And then they tour the house and they come back down and now they're there, right? And you say, hey guys, what did you think of the master bedroom? Yeah, the master bedroom, that was good. The master bedroom was cool. It was big enough, I think. Well, what did you think of the finishes? They renovated that master bathroom. What'd you think? Oh my gosh, the finishes are amazing. I love that. Really cool, right? Yes, I love it. Well, what'd you think of that kitchen? Well, I wish that they had put quartz in instead. And you know what? I don't really like a galley kitchen. I want something with an island. I could see that. It would be better if you had an island, wouldn't it? What'd you think of the floors? Oh, dude, I love these floors. I love the floors. What do you like about them? Oh, I like the color and the wide plank and everything. That's cool. I like that too. I think that that's, one of the shining features of this home. And, thank you for that. Well, what about the basement? The basement, I mean, I probably would never spend time down there, but it was pretty killer. Well, I love that. I love that. Does the backyard work for you? No, the backyard is completely steep. It would not work for me at all because, I have kids. Oh, I get it. So what I'm hearing is you like those finishes in the master bathroom and the bedroom's pretty good. This kitchen would not work for you because it doesn't have an island. I get that. I think it's so nice to have an island. I get that. But you like the floors. If I feel like you probably like more of a newer house with a more open floor plan, huh? Yes, I do. I get that too. But hey, you cannot be on a slope because you don't want the babies rolling down into the creek back there. Yes, that's right. Would you be offended if I sent some off-market properties that just could fit your criteria? Because I think I'm getting it. Oh my gosh, that would be great. And guess what they're going to be saying as they walk out to the door? See, that's my secret sauce. When they're walking out to the car, they're like, she wasn't like the last 3 open houses that we went to. And did you notice that she didn't even ask us to sign in when we got there? And but she's going to send them some off-market properties. Honey, I really kind of liked her. Yeah, I liked her too. I think, I think she got us. Yeah, she got us pretty quick. Eric is over there like this. You see, that's relationship. That's coming from value. Don't ask them. You don't want to ask them for something because that's what the last 3 agents that they went to said. Oh, would you sign in? The seller really wants to know who's been here. No, the seller doesn't care who's been there. The seller just wants to know people showed up. Don't lie. Get what they like about it. Engage them. Get on their level. Right? Is that helpful?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. All right, let's move in. I'm getting out of this one. Stop sharing. Okay. Internet inquiries, tips for getting the appointment and pre-qualify for the consultation. Now, I think I've kind of given you a couple of tips for consultations, right? Do I need to go into that further? Good. Okay. All right. Donnie, I just hosted my first open house ever yesterday. I wish I'd heard this before. Haha. Donnie and Robin, that's awesome. Yes, I will share the deck, Eric, and this is being recorded, so it will be up on the intranet. Remember, you can go to kwroswelltraining.com. You can go to kwroswelltraining.com and you can watch videos. I have a video on there where I go into detail for open houses. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and it goes into the strategy that I implemented years ago on open houses. So do go back and listen to that. You guys, there are others, and this one will be on the intranet, and it's KW Roswell Training. So if you haven't been on that, you guys, it's awesome. Let me show you something. KW Roswell. Okay. Now let me share this. I just want you to see this here because this is where you always go to, right? Have you ever scrolled down?
I
Look
just learned
here.
this last week.
Right? I know. So look, this is everything. Look at all the team meetings that are here, right? Where Aubrey is just dropping some serious nuggets, right? Here are the latest. This is the Chart Masters one. Liftoff workshops. Those are those Wednesday workshops where I'm just getting into whatever you guys need and showing you tips and tricks. Here's a whole writing a buyer contract with Laura Lerman. You want to know how to write a buyer's contract? Boom. There you go. 90 Days to Greatness is those Friday morning sessions. Here is the open house that I taught earlier. Get into that one. Okay, so I just wanted you guys to see that. Now scroll on down and look what else little nuggets you have on there. Okay, you want to pre-qualify somebody, pre-listing checklist, right? Buyer pre-offer checklist. Boom, there you go. Download those bad boys and put them in your computer so that you'll have some of these tools right off the bat and you don't have to go searching for them. Okay, we can't put everything on here. That's what KW Connect is for and things like that. But you guys, we do want you to have things that you can get to fairly quickly. Is that helpful? Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, last thing. Let's talk about pre-qualifying for the consultation. Okay, now I'm going to skip over here. Okay, here we go. Now, I have done this well in the past, and guess what? I've done it poorly in the past. So let me tell you the consequences of not pre-qualifying a buyer or a seller before you meet with them. If you are pre-qualifying for a listing. Let's say that somebody calls you and they go, yeah, wife and I, we've been thinking about selling, and we've been thinking about selling, and we thought, it might be a good time to talk to an agent. So was kind of thinking maybe, we should have some agents come over, right? Now, if you just say, oh, that's great. Well, how is Saturday morning at 10 a.m.? Ah, that works just great. Well, perfect. And then you show up Saturday morning and you realize that they are adding a second story onto this ranch that was built in the 50s. They're doing it themselves. They don't have any permits pulled. I mean, just imagine. And you're standing there going, oh, wow, okay, where do I go from here? All right. Or a buyer says, yeah, I'd really like to see this house. And, I've been looking for a little while. Oh, that's great. Well, how was Saturday morning at 10 a.m.? I'm happy to show that house to you. Oh, great. Thank you. Saturday morning, you showed up. And there you are. And you're like, you're so excited because you're getting a buyer. This is awesome. And you show up and you open the door and you're just asking all kinds of questions and everything. And then at the end they go, oh, this looks really, really great. I am so glad that you met me here today and showed us this house. We're going to talk to our agent about it. And our, we'll go ahead and have our agent, get with us. Say what? Now you guys, that happened to me. And it is awful because you're saying loser right here on my forehead. Oh my gosh, if I had just asked them, right? Oh, you have an agent. Great. Who's your agent? I'll be happy to touch base with them, right? So pre-qualifying. How do we pre-qualify for the appointment? Because we're talking about leads to conversion. We're talking about converting that internet lead, converting that open house lead, converting that lead wherever they came from. Susie told John that they needed to call Eric. Okay, whatever that lead, whatever way that comes in, you need to ask questions. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been into the Apple store to buy a product? Eric is nodding. Marinelli is nodding. Robin is nodding. Anybody else? Okay. They will ask you 50 freaking questions. You go in to say, oh, I'd like the new iPad Pro. And they go, oh, okay. And blah, blah, blah. What are you doing with it? And how do you normally do, what sort of programs are you running? What do you do for a living? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, just want to buy the iPad Pro, right? Well, they have been trained to ask you these questions. Why? Because they care so much that you buy the right product for your job and for your use, because they don't want you bringing back a product after they've used it because they can't resell it at the store. Right? And so they don't want to waste your time, or they don't want to waste their money. So what are they doing? They're asking you questions, and they say, oh, well, so you're an artist. Yes, I'm an artist. Okay. So they're thinking, hey, the iPad Pro probably would work for them. And exactly what is it that you do? What do you design? Oh, well, I'm really kind of a CAD designer. Oh, forget the iPad Pro. We may need to go with the, right? So they're making adjustments when they're asking you all the questions. Guys, why wouldn't we do that with buyers or with sellers? So let's get into some of those questions that you might want to ask. And for this, we're going to actually open up your student handbook because the PowerPoint doesn't really give us that much. So let's open the student handbook. And let me make this just a little bit bigger. All right, let's get rid of this. Can you guys see that okay? Should I make it bigger?
No, it's good.
Good.
All right, good. Those of you who have been in my office, you know how big of a monitor is. So yeah, I don't even need my glasses for this. Okay, so we're going to talk about questions so you can actually go to page, okay, you're going to go to page 26 You see where it says 26 here? So it is page 30 of the PDF, but it's page 26 of the actual manual. So here are some
sorry, Robin.
questions. Yes.
Where is this? I'm sorry. Is this what Melody sent this
Yes,
afternoon?
Melody. Melody
Okay.
sent the actual lead. Oh, guess what? I'm on the instructor. Okay, hang on. I'm on the instructor notebook. Yours will have the same ones, but it's going to be on a different page. So if you have those open, let me know. And if not, we'll get that opened. Okay, most important thing is that you get these questions. So I'm not too worried about whether or not you have the right, one right now. I want you to, because you do have those in your email. It doesn't matter if it's not on the same page. I just want you to have those questions. So, all right. So when sellers call you, they are usually already interested in at least considering you as their listing agent. Now, there are a few trains of thought here. A lot of people want to be the first one in, and a lot of people want to be the last one in. What do you think would be the most advantageous for you?
Last, I think.
I like to be first, and I'll tell you why. Because if they are that impressed with me, then I can say, I know you feel obligated because you've made these appointments with these other two agents. Would you like for me to give them a call and let them know that you've already made a decision? And that way I take the pressure off of you and you don't even have to call them.
That's clever.
Oh my gosh, you're good.
Okay, that is not original to me. That is a Diana Kokoska thing. Right? But if you go in and I got a listing once because I was the third person in. And the only reason why he didn't go with the second one, the first one was just so inept, according to him, that it was like, no, forget it, just get out of here. The second one, what he told me afterwards is, I and the second agent had very similar marketing techniques. Okay. He said, you do more on Facebook than they did. And he said, but I liked this other person and I happen to know her and she's from a different company. And he said, I was ready to sign with her, but my wife would not let me sign with her until we talked to you because you helped 4 of her friends. Now he was the one making the decision. He was the high D. And do you know that I asked him 4 times in the listing presentation for his business? I did presumptive closes. I said, well, you know what? I already have my photographer lined up just in case we decided to work together today. And so my photographer is lined up for next Wednesday. I actually have my stager. She's available on Monday for you. So as soon as we get going, we're going to be able to hit the ground running on this. And so I do a lot of presumptive closes. And then I asked him straight up, are you ready to get started? And he looked at me and he looked at his wife and he said, I was ready to go with agent number 2, but because you asked for the business, I'm giving you the business because I'm in sales and I know the power of asking for the business. So ask for the business, especially if you're working with a high D and who is in sales, that you've pre-qualified them, you've got them on the disc profile, you better ask for the business, because if you don't, they're going to go with the person who does ask for the business. Okay, so how did the seller find you? These next pages, look what great questions. When do you have to be out of your house? Why are you moving? On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell your home? If somebody says on the phone, you know what, I really don't need to sell, I'm probably about a 1. I just thought, everybody's selling right now. I just thought maybe it'd be a really good time. Do you want to spend time in getting to know this person who is not motivated? Really? Why would we do that? Okay, so go through these guys, through these pages, you guys, and start asking. This is a powerful one. How much do you think your home is worth? And guys, go on Zillow before you go over there and see what Zillow says their house is worth, because I guarantee you they already have. So you better know what Zillow says. Okay. Now, can you pull all of this information from Realist, from the tax records? Yes. But there's power on you asking these questions, because they don't know that you have access to all of that. So if you don't ask those questions, might they think you're odd by not asking some questions about the house? Okay. Guess what? If you don't ask them if they're current on your payments, they could be in a forbearance and you've wasted your time because they can't sell yet. Ask questions, right? Ask questions for your buyers. These are your pre-qualifying questions. All right. Okay, this goes all the way through. Lots and lots of questions on this. This is golden. This is in your inbox. Okay, Melody sent it out. If you do not have it, you've looked through and you don't have it, shoot me an email, Robin Lemon at KW, and say, hey, I need those slides. And I need that, you know, that PDF. Got it? Has this been helpful, you guys?
Oh my gosh, really helpful.
Yay, 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 yay. Okay, I have to go. It's 3 o'clock, an hour and a half. We did it. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me over the last hour and a half, and you helped my headache go away. So thank you for that. And you guys are all awesome. I'm so proud of every one of you. If you need anything, you know where I'm at. You know my phone number. You got to send a pigeon. I don't care. Let me know how I can help you. All right, you guys.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.